Hello and welcome to Best Builds. In Best Builds series, I go over different builds, what they bring to the table, and why they are the best builds. So in this case, we have the stock Divine Dragon Alear. Now this is something you'll probably be running if you are new to the game or if you want specific utility out of this class. Now if you look at the base growths on Alear plus the class modifiers, you have really good growths. You have pretty good HP, pretty good strength, high dex, very high speed, high defense, like above average res, pretty good luck, and 10% build. So you have really good growths on this class. So even though its bases are maybe like a few points lower than things like Wyvern, it still has quite good growths, and it has way better speed than Wyvern, and it's very similar to a Griffin Knight in a way. So, but you do get the dragon passive, like your dragon type, and you can use certain emblems better than other units. So to begin, let's talk about weapons. So the weapons are very simple. So you have A rank in swords on this, and B rank in arts and punching people. So I think the best weapons are mostly like Folkvanger, Steel Sword, Silver Sword if you don't have this. This is the absolute best weapon in my opinion. It has, better damage than steel, slightly worse damage than silver, but its weight is so low you can put like a leaf engraving on it. You can also run Armor Slayer to hit through armor, so really you should be using one of these first three plus Armor Slayer. So outside of that, we also have like Levin Sword. Now the magic is 20% growth, so you're not going to be hitting very hard on that class, on this class with Levin Sword, but it's nice to have. You could run Brave Sword builds on this. Worm Slayer is nice. I think this is actually S rank, this Khalid Bolg. For some reason, Divine Dragon has A rank. So they toggle this off. Let's see. God Sword. Yeah, I don't think you can use that one. You're not allowed to. On Griffin Knight you can though, which is an interesting fact. But alright, so moving on, let's talk about the passives. So these I think are the best passives. Sword Power for damage, Canter for repositioning, Speed Plus or Speed Taker for doubling more consistently and for doubling very fast enemies. And then for the middle row, we have Sword Agility and then Avoid Plus, both of which give Avoid Plus. You also have Lunar Brace if you want to go for like the Brave Sword route. So you could run like Sword Power with Brave Sword or just Lunar Brace with Speed Plus, but generally Sword Power is better than Lunar Brace. You also have Holdout, which can help. The other thing that's nice about Sword Power is it boosts your Levin Sword, so even if you're terrible magic, if you get Sword Power 5, you're still dealing 20 damage, plus 20 damage when doubling. Holdout is good just for tanking, if you don't want this to be like a combat unit. Same thing with like the Avoid tanking. The idea here would be you run Avoid tanking to not die, so that you are a utility unit that can sometimes deal damage, but you mostly are just trying not to die. Alright, then bottom row, we have Dual Support, which is also good for Avoid tanking, Quality Time, which can be good with specific builds, and just for general passive healing, and then Gentility for damage reduction, and you can also flip it to Bravery for damage increase, and both of which work on enemy phase. Alright, so for engravings on the weapons, Leaf on your Folkvanger is good. On Steel Sword, you can kind of get away with it. Eventually your build will hit like 9 and 10 long term, because at 10% build growth on fixed mode, you get 1 point of build per 10 level ups, and you'll level up 20 to 40 times, roughly speaking, from start to finish. So you'll be able to get some build. You also have 5 build on Dragon Child, so you should still be getting level ups, right, in build, like point increases. And then we have Beginnings. Beginnings is good on Steel, Silver, or Folkvanger, and potentially even Brave. And Lucina is good on any of these. It does reduce damage, but increases Avoid. So if you're going the Avoid tank route, you can get like Sword Agility 5, or Avoid Plus, or Dual Support, and then get plus 30 Avoid and plus 30 hits. This does reduce damage and weight by 1 though, so it'd be better on like a Silver. Sigurd is really good. It gives you hit, Avoid, damage increase, and weight decrease. So this would be better on like a Silver if you don't want to run Steel and you don't have the the Hero, Sword. And then Micaiah is good for Avoid tanking. It reduces damage by like 2, I think. It also reduces weight by 1. So it reduces weight, it gives you plus 40 Avoid. So this would be used on, let's say, you're not attacking and you just want to use this unit as a buff bot in a way. So let's get into that. Let's go over the emblems. All right, so for the emblems, I think the best one is actually Byleth, funny enough. Byleth plus Dragon class, every time you dance, whoever gets hit by the dance refresh gets +3 to all their stats, and you also get access to Super Instruct, which gives +3 to all stats. If you don't use DLC, this is a big deal. If you use DLC, Chrom gives like Rally Spectrum, which is better. But if you're on base game and you don't have the DLC, this is actually a really solid build, and you can super buff your units while refreshing them. So in this case, Byleth doesn't necessarily need to be like a hard carry, but instead would be like a support unit that can also sometimes one round and kill. And this is a pretty solid build. Like I've used this on like 2 or 3 maddening runs, and it's pretty easy to use. You just set up your dances and you can run Canter or Quality Time, and depending on what passives you want, like if you want Quality Time and Canter, you can heal when Goddess Dancing and when Super Instructing to like add more value, and then the Canter lets you reposition so you can like get in and out. But that's like just pure support. You could also run like damage and speed and then still super dance, because having even if you have like 5 hard carries, right? Like having one of your hard carries super dance 4 other hard carries is a huge advantage, right? That's 4 more turns for the cost of 1 turn. So you get +3 moves with strong units, so pretty useful. Lucina is good for Bonded Shield. Or I'm sorry, I'm thinking of the other build. This is the wrong build. This build you get 90% on Bonded Shield, which is still consistent enough to bond like small groups of enemies. Like 90% is consistent enough that if like 5 things attack you, one of them might get through, but the rest shouldn't. So you could still use Lucina on here, and this does fix speed and allow you to double more consistently, and you also damage boost people because you're Alear, so you give them -1 incoming damage +3 outgoing. So you still could bond it, but you'd have to be a little bit more cautious. It's not 100% hit rate or trigger rate. On Corrin, you'd have access to all the different things. The stats Corrin provides aren't really useful, but all the different veins could be useful depending on what the situation calls for. If you want like fire, if you want ice, if you want to do the defense increase, pillars, there's a lot of different things. So you have access to all of that. So that can be very useful. If you want Byleth to be like, or Alear to be a utility unit. I just said Byleth because of that. Roy is good for the damage route. You get holdout for free, you get strength plus, you get level up, you get level +5 when engaged. This combos really well with sword power. Roy has a lot of swords, so you can make use of his swords with sword power. He gives you damage, he makes you harder to kill. So this is a more damage route. These are more like a support route. Lyn could be decent for speed fixing and one rounding, going for, just raw damage. You also get an extra clone, and I think you get a range increase on dragon type, so you get you get some extra value from that, but mostly just be for the speed taker and the speed plus. And then Erica would mostly be useful for, free lunar brace plus. So if you're on sword power and speed and you're on Erica, you get lunar brace. You're one rounding everything for sure. And even if you don't have sword power, usually lunar brace is enough to push your damage up over the edge so that you one round most enemies, or at the very least get them very close to death. You also get twin strike, which is very useful. But overall, I would say I would run this on Byleth, and it's pretty useful. Now, Byleth can be used on like a Sage, but I usually run Mage Knights now, so I don't really see the value. Sage is still good, but you have to choose what your team is. Everyone can't be doing everything. So I would say these two are probably the best for support, the best for damage. Like this top row is like support, this bottom row is damage. So depending on how you want to play it, you can go less into damage, more into support, or more into damage, less into support. And either way, you're still going to get value. You'll still get a decent unit that can one round and hold its own in combat with pretty good growths. And on fixed mode, these stats are guaranteed. So yeah, that's it for this one. Definitely like and subscribe. If you enjoyed this or found this useful, feel free to drop a comment if you feel like I missed anything, or if there's some passives or some emblem rings that would be good on this. And I will see you in the next one.